Hello, today I'm going to be talking about composting. The Brazilian pepper tree, you can see the peppercorns there, and the California pepper tree. Many people are afraid to compost these because they're allelopathic, meaning they inhibit the growth of plants. So if you have one of these in your California garden, they're very popular. Nothing grows under it because there's an oil that's secreted through here that inhibits the growth of your plants, and it may even kill them. With the peppercorns, they're really strong, and if they land in your pots, even if you put pots under there, they can do damage to your plants. So most people say don't compost these. Well, I'm composting. I've composted them in the past, but I decided to do this video because my compost now, I have some over here that's been brewing for about 8 months that is 80% California pepper, Brazilian pepper, and I'm going to be leaving it in there for probably about 14 months. So it's a real slow compost. Once again, I have had success with it at 20%, but this is really going to be pure Brazilian pepper tree and California pepper tree. So you go, well, okay, well that's good. Well, what else do you put in it? Well, I put in old potting soil when I remove plants, repot, those kinds of things. And I also use kitchen compost, banana peels, coffee grinds, all of that, so that's in there as well. So let me take you over to my compost pile and show you what I'm doing, give you some detail. Okay, so this is my tumbling composter for kitchen waste. This keeps the bugs down because if you put it directly on there, you have to keep burying it, but then you run out of space. So this one really helps keep down the bugs. And when it's really completed, I dig a hole in the center or on the sides, wherever I need to, and I put it in here. But let's go ahead and have a look at these composts, and I'll tell you what I'm doing. This compost is made up of about 80% Brazilian and California pepper tree material. After about 6 months of it brewing, I turned it over and added about 150 pounds of coarse sand, which is about 3 5-gallon buckets. The other 20% of material is a mixture of kitchen scraps or recycled potting soil. The added coarse sand increases drainage, meaning it allows water to move rapidly through it. At this time, this material would make a good potting soil. When starting this compost 7 or 8 months ago, I laid it down in this box in 6-inch layers. On each layer, I sprinkled about 1 pound of ammonia sulfate, a nitrogen fertilizer. After each layer, I sprayed water on it. The reason I use nitrogen is because most of the mulch contains wood, which is considered high in carbon, at about 700 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen, while a green leaf is roughly 20 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen. If you are composting green alfalfa hay, that is 12 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen. So there it is. You need a good deal of nitrogen to create compost when using large quantities of woody branches. By the way, this box compost started off at about 6 feet in height. As the material brewed and composted, it really condensed in size to this. Here is compost I did about 4 years ago. These earthworms indicated to me that it was ready. This mixture contained about 20% pepper tree trimmings, 70% fresh wood chips from other trees in my yard, and around 10% kitchen waste. I measured the soil's pH and it came in at 6.7, a good place to be. I will show you this composting technique in a few moments. Now let me quickly show you how I shred all those green leaf branches. Putting in earplugs. I got one in here, and I'm going to put in my other earplug. This is a loud machine, so let's get it started. In case there is someone skeptical about composting allelopathic branches, I want to read a short passage from the California Master Gardener Handbook, 2nd edition, page 54. Quote, Contrary to popular opinion, eucalyptus and oleander can go into the compost pile. Decomposition will detoxify them. That's an interesting quote. Eucalyptus is allelopathic and oleander is poisonous. It would seem that nature has a way of balancing itself out, given some time and care. The mulching of pepper tree branches is done. I've roughly got a pile there that weighs 400 to 500 pounds, which is about 220 kilos, roughly speaking. I'm going to move it in the wheelbarrow to the opposite side of the mulch box I showed you earlier. So let's go ahead and move on to that next step, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. I've got the first layer of shredded mulch laid down. I'm now sprinkling the ammonia sulfate nitrogen. This pile will eventually shrink way down as it brews in compost. I'll show it to you in a day or two later when it heats up. A good temperature is somewhere between 135 to 150 Fahrenheit or 57 to 65 Celsius. The organisms that break down the material can die off at temperatures that exceed 160 Fahrenheit or 71 Celsius. If the organisms die off, this could cause the material to cool down too much, inhibiting the fast composting method. By the way, if I wasn't composting these allelopathic branches from my pepper trees, I would feel very comfortable using this as compost in 2 or 3 months. This is day 2. You can see the steam escaping as it heats up. It's very aromatic with an odor like fresh cut, sweet smelling pine. Let me take a moment to show you how I'm going to use the 8-month compost in the white plastic bin. I'm going to put this compost into my new raised vegetable garden. It will be used in these bellin tanks. It's currently late October, so I still have 5 months to complete it. Yep, it's good to plan ahead. Look how much I saved by buying these bellin tanks in October, which is after the peak summer growing season here in Southern California. In case you're curious how well these bellin tanks work, here is a short 20-second excerpt from a video of its conversion. There are more details in the description, and thank you for watching. Your positive feedback is appreciated.